A few weeks ago, I put out a video on Daredevil's combos, which I made using a calculator, which I programmed from scratch to find out the definitive fastest combos for Daredevil. You guys had a lot of great questions and feedback, and so that's what I'm going to be addressing today. We've got a fair bit of ground to cover, so be sure if you want to jump around, take a look at the timestamps in the video player. You can look at what topics do and do not interest you. Having said that, I want to start this video with an announcement. I've been tossing up whether or not to make a Discord server for the purposes of promoting my YouTube stuff for a while, and recently Tokens reached out to me and asked me to become a co-owner on his server, the Superior Spider Society. We talked through a bit of what this would mean, and I am thrilled to say that this is going ahead. It's already in motion. I am now a co-owner of this server, and I am inviting you along to join it for several reasons. Firstly, it's just a really cool community. I've been a part of it myself for a long time. I really like the people that are there. Secondly, you can take roles to get notifications when I post a video of kinds that are interesting to you. If I ever make a video properly breaking down how my calculator works, I probably wouldn't push it to all my subscribers' feed in YouTube just for algorithmic reasons. So if you'd like to see more computer science heavy stuff, you should really sign up for the notifications on Discord, because that's much more likely that you'd see it that way. Reason number 3, a project I've been looking at starting up for a while, is going to be a Marvel Rivals trivia game show where people can answer trivia questions and win in-game prizes. Now, if you want to be a part of this, there's a role that you can take to get notified for when I'm looking for participants as well, called Trivia Participant. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get everything set up to actually start filming this, but when it happens, that's where it's going to happen. One more great reason to join the server: Tokens runs monthly giveaways, or I believe he's been trying to do it monthly. I think he's been keeping up with that goal, and these are just really cool. It's a way for people to submit creations that they have made, whether it be videos or artworks or something along those lines. You get to submit something, winners are chosen, voted on by the community, and then they win in-game items or chrono tokens or lattice or whatever it is that he gives away. You actually get to win something. The fact that Tokens just does stuff like this because he can, because he thinks it's cool, that's something that really made me want to enter into this partnership. I could tell you why Tokens and his server are awesome all day, but we've got a full video to get to, so let's move on. Will I make a video explaining the calculator code in detail? I'm not sure yet, but what I do know is that some of you asked for me to release the code so that you can see it, so that you can look at how it works, and I have done that. I've taken some time to tidy it up, to get it to a state where you can actually read it and figure out what's going on, and it is available for you right now on GitHub. I've left the link in the description if you want to check it out. The last thing to talk about before jumping into the actual combos is the fact that there have been a few new techs that have been catalogued. One of these was found by Fame. This is a plinking tech. He's got a full video on it, which you should watch if you're into the tech. I won't go all the way into all of the minutiae of it, but the short version is you can use a Devil's Latch cancelled into a jump very quickly to cancel animations. By far the most useful application for this is when you're using Righteous Cross. You can cancel it early with a Devil's Latch into a jump very, very quickly, basically simultaneously, and then once you've done this, you can get into a primary attack much faster than you could if you didn't do any sort of animation cancel. I found that it can technically be used to cancel Devil's Throw about 3 frames earlier, but in general, it's really difficult to tell if you're actually realizing that time save, and it's also quite a precise input for basically no benefit. So that's one tech that's going to come up a few times in our combos later. When I say plink, I just mean Devil's Latch into jump, one after the other, incredibly quickly, like you basically roll from one input to the next, and that's going to let you cancel an animation very quickly. The other tech we should discuss is around the use of Devil's Throw. Several of you pointed out that I was attacking singular targets and that you can get more damage if more targets are present. But have a look at this. 2 targets, I throw directly at one of them, and the damage is exactly the same as if I threw at an isolated target. So what on earth is going on here? Well, watch what happens if I instead throw at the ground in between these 2 targets. Now, one or very occasionally both of them take double the damage. A lot of people seem to have stumbled upon this, and I'm going to be adopting the terminology that Blame the Controller uses. He called it a ground bounce in his video. I don't think he was necessarily the first one to find this, but he did sort of approach it with a mindset where he was trying to figure out how it works, and so his video is worth watching. He talks about 2 different ways of sort of setting this up. There's type 1, which I was not aware of, where you sort of throw on the outside of 2 targets, and this can do upwards of 200 damage. This one seems kind of luck dependent, and also I don't think you need me to tell you how to use this in a combo, considering after you throw one Righteous Cross is enough to finish off whoever you're damaging. So I elected to ignore this. I didn't go back and retroactively add it in. What I did already know about is what he calls the type 2 ground bounce, where you throw the Devil's Throw in between two targets, and then it's going to do double damage to one of them, whoever the throw was closer to. What I didn't see him mention is that if you're up really close, this kind of gets inconsistent in my experience, and there's a certain range where you can sort of throw it behind you instead of throwing it in between the two targets, and that sort of works. Sometimes a hit from above will get extra damage triggers, sometimes one from sort of the outside. It made me think maybe the projectile moving through the body could cause extra hits to register, but then sometimes it happens if you hit them directly on the inside as well, so I'm not sure. It's really weird. I don't think that this is intended behavior. I would be really shocked if it was. So I would imagine that this is going to get patched, which is why when I'm talking about different classes of combos, I've got recommendations for using ground bounces and also for similar combos which do not use ground bounces. All right, let's finally get into these combos. The first class of combos I want to talk about is combos which do not use cooldowns. A lot of you guys correctly pointed out the fact that using Devil's Latch is not always a good option. You need this as your movement to get out, and so sometimes in a 1v1 scenario it's going to be available to use as an offensive tool, but a lot of the times you need it as a defensive one and can't afford to use it in your combo. So what are the fastest combos which don't use this? Well, the very fastest one that I found for 250 HP targets goes like this. Punch, melee, then you're going to cancel the melee with Sonic Pursuit before the second hit even comes out. That's how fast we're going. Then you use a ground bounce, you plink, and use Righteous Cross. From first to last hit, this takes 42 frames. The plink in there is optional. It adds about 3 frames if you don't do it and you're otherwise executing these combos perfectly. I think 3 frames is fairly negligible in this case, but that's not the only critique that I have of this combo. Sort of the most obvious flaw of this combo is you're using Sonic Pursuit before you actually consume any Fury, and this order just works out to be the fastest because of working the plink in there. But once you get rid of the plink, we can get a combo which is basically the same but a lot more human viable. A very slightly slower combo, and one that I can actually somewhat recommend in good faith, is Punch, Melee, Ground Bounce, Sonic Pursuit, Righteous Cross. Apart from the fact that you're not doing that throw into plink, which is really awkward to do, there's one really obvious advantage of this combo over the last one. And that is the fact that you end this combo with more Fury than you started it with. So this combo is actually net Fury positive. You can spam this repeatedly as often as you like, and it's fast, and it doesn't use any other cooldowns. At least it doesn't use any cooldowns as long as you secure the kill and get your Sonic Pursuit back. The awkwardness of this combo is that you're using melees before you use the ground bounce. My opinion is that the ground bounce is a lot better when it's used as an opener from range. I just find that getting the ground bounce to actually work from up close is really awkward. A lot of the time it's not going to work the way that you intended. In this case, you can sort of follow up with more attacks to make it work out because you've got full Fury, but it's just not the most reliable to use the ground bounce up close, I don't think at least. There's also the fact that the ground bounce might get patched in the future, so I wanted to lab some combos which can be used to kill 250 with no cooldowns and no ground bounce. The fastest of these is Devil's Chain into Righteous Cross, Plink, Punch, Devil's Throw, and Sonic Pursuit. From first to last hit, this takes 54 frames. There is something to be aware of in order to do this right, and that is the fact that the punch in the middle, which you need to get the Fury in order to use Devil's Throw, there's a bit of a delay on getting that Fury, and so if you're just spamming your inputs as quickly as you can, you're going to right-click before you have the Fury to use Devil's Throw, which means you're instead going to use Objection, and then you're not going to have your Objection cooldown, and you're going to be very sad. So there's actually a little pause that has to happen person in the middle. And you can use this pause to add in an extra melee. You can get both jabs in and you only lose 1 frame. Now, whether you insert those jabs or not, you're going to end with the throw, and the throw is enough to kill, but if you follow that up with Sonic Pursuit, you're actually going to be able to land the Sonic Pursuit before the throw damage registers, and that means you're going to get back your Fury, and you're going to end this combo with Fury as opposed to using it all up. So there are a few little things that can go wrong throughout this combo. It's a little bit risky to go for, but in theory, on paper, it does look really good. So I'm curious to see whether people are able to sort of get this under their belts. So far, I've been timing all of these combos from the first hit to the last hit. That means I've been discarding the wind-up animation of the first attack. There's a couple of reasons to measure a combo this way. Firstly, if you've got the jump on someone, they don't see you winding up the first attack. Their first clue that they're being attacked is when they take damage. So in terms of reactability, if they're being stuck up on, that first wind-up does not matter. The other reason is if this person is being healed and you're just trying to outpace the healing. They can't get healed before they've taken damage, so you really don't care about that time before they've taken damage in that case either. When you do care about the wind-up is when they see you coming and you're trying to go fast, not to outpace healing, but to outpace them killing you. If they're shooting back, then yes, that wind-up to the first attack absolutely does matter. So the question becomes natural, what is the fastest combo if you do care about the first wind-up? If you allow the ground bounce, those first combos that we talked about are still the fastest of their kind. But if you don't allow the ground bounce, the fastest combo starts with Devil's Throw, move stacked with Sonic Pursuit to engage quickly. We follow up with Righteous Cross, then we do another Devil's Throw, an optional Plink to make things go just a little bit faster, and finish with Righteous Cross. From start to finish, this is 86 frames, and for the sake of comparing it with those other combos, it is 68 frames from the first to the last hit. Alright, that about does us for 250 HP targets. What about 275? Honestly, these combos end up being way more natural, in my opinion, than the 250 combos, so even though they're a little bit slower, in theory, I do recommend these as sort of a default go-to, because A, they're more natural, and B, that also means you get to offset just a little bit of healing. Our fastest combo overall for 275 targets without using our cooldowns starts with a ground bounce into Sonic Pursuit. We're move stacking that like before. Then you follow up with Righteous Cross and finish with Devil's Throw. This is 53 frames from first to last hit, so it's not that much slower than 250, but in my opinion, engaging with Devil's Throw with that ground bounce is much more viable than trying to do it once you've already hit them once you're up close. You get a moment to actually see where are the two targets you're going to try and line this up on, and to line up the shot between them. You don't have to do it on the fly, up close in the middle of combos, and worry about turning around or getting the angle just right. You can front load all of that work to before the combos really started. You also have a Righteous Cross available at the end of this combo, so if they just get massive amounts of healing, or if you don't land that multi-hit with the bounce, you've got strong follow-up options, or you can turn and use this against someone else if you did get the kill, and that's a great jump start on the next combo. Alright, what if you don't allow the ground bounce? Well, in this case, we're going to start with Devil's Chain, and then we're going to follow up with Righteous Cross, Plink out of that, into Punch, Melee Jabs, Devil's Throw, and Sonic Pursuit. This takes 64 frames from first to last hit. And again, what about the combos where they see us coming, they're shooting back, and so we care about total time. We're not sort of cutting off that first action startup. Once again, if you allow a ground bounce, this is going to be the same combo as before. The ground bounce, Sonic Pursuit, Righteous Cross, Throw. That is still the fastest option available. But if you don't allow a ground bounce, the fastest combo is Devil's Throw into Sonic Pursuit, Righteous Cross, Devil's Chain, and one more Righteous Cross. And this is that bread and butter combo that a lot of people were recommending before the character dropped or on day one of his launch. It's really solid, it's really human viable, but it's only really the fastest combo combo if you put in these restrictions. The fact that you don't want to use cooldowns, the fact that your opponent sees you coming and is shooting back, and the fact that you don't allow the ground bounce. If you drop any one of those restrictions, there becomes faster options. So that rounds off all of the combos where we're preserving our cooldowns. Now I had the question, what if we're using up cooldowns with Reckless Abandon? What's the fastest we can possibly get? This was the goal of my first video, which used the calculator. But now that we're aware of the ground bounce and the Plink tech, there should be faster options than what were available at the time. The very fastest kill combo for a 250 HP target turns out to be Punch, Ground Bounce, Sonic Pursuit, Righteous Cross, and Objection. This is really cool, I think. From first to last hit, this is 38 frames. This is the fastest time you're going to hear on any combo. Those first 4 attacks leave the target with just a sliver of health, and Objection is enough to finish them off with just 1 tick of the damage that it deals. And you might think that this is completely ridiculous, but think about the fact that you can just keep holding this after you've killed the person, and now you've got Objection up, and you can back away from any peelers while holding onto it. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to pull this off practically, but please, if you do, send me a clip. That would be awesome. Another option is Righteous Cross into Ground Bounce, Sonic Pursuit, and Righteous Cross. From first to last hit, this takes 42 frames. At first, you may think that this uses no cooldowns, and it can in certain scenarios, but really, in order to have that initial Righteous Cross, you probably needed to use Devil's Latch to get up close. There is one exception to this, which is if you've just killed someone else and you've ended with an action which gives you the Righteous Cross, you might be able to follow up with another combo on someone else with that Righteous Cross opener. I don't know how often this is actually going to happen, if at all, but now you know, I suppose. If you don't allow ground bounces, then our fastest combo is exactly the same as the one which doesn't use cooldowns. That's Devil's Chain, Righteous Cross, Plink, Punch, Devil's Throw, and Sonic Pursuit, or the variations of that which make it more human viable. Once again, we've already said everything there is to say about that combo, I think. For 275 targets, the fastest possible kill is from a ground bounce into Sonic Pursuit, Devil's Latch, and Devil's Throw. This is crazy fast, a mere 47 frames. And unlike some of the combos that we've talked about, I think this one is really, really natural. And the fastest possible kill on 275 targets with no ground bounce is going to be Devil's Chain into Righteous Cross, Devil's Latch, Righteous Cross, Devil's Throw, and Sonic Pursuit. It consumes your Devil's Latch, but it also leaves you with full fury, so it's not all bad. So those are the fastest possible combos, including using cooldowns. There is one more type of combo I wanted to look at, and that is combos for when you do not have fury, and you don't want to use your cooldowns to get them back. I'm talking about combos which only use punches and melees. For a lot of you, this will seem dead obvious, and for 250 HP targets, yes, it is. It is exactly what you probably expect, which is just to weave punches and melees. Fastest kill on 250 HP is punch, melee jabs. Punch, melee, punch, melee, punch, melee jabs. That is as fast as you can go. It is exactly what you would expect and what I did expect. What I found interesting was the fact that if you're fighting a 275 HP target, it actually becomes faster to use 2 punches in a row for your 3rd and 4th punches. So that looks like punch, melee jabs, punch, melee, punch, punch, melee, punch, melee jabs. That version for 250 HP just barely wasn't enough to kill 275, and so if you want this to kill 275, you've got to add in one more punch somewhere, and I guess that just happens to be the fastest place to put it. Sort of squeezing it in at the middle instead of trying to put it at the end. I thought that was pretty cool. Hopefully you've found this stuff pretty cool as well. I would really like to know if you're able to get some practical use out of this. Please join the Discord. Please tell me if you're attempting it. Please tell me if you have success and send me the clips of your successes. Other than that, let me know if I've missed anything, if you had any questions that I forgot to address. I'm sorry if that's the case, and I will try to make some follow-ups, whether in comments or if I decide I need to make a follow-up video to this one. I'll try to address everything at some point, but that's all I've got for you for now. You'll be hearing from me soon. Cheers.